The Mental Brew Podcast, sponsored by Sentinel Computers, your partner in IT security and support, keeping your business safe. Hey everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the Mental Brew Podcast. My name is Dennis Lorden, and today we have Damian Quinn. Damian, thanks for coming on, bud.
No worries. Thanks for having us on, Dennis. Glad to be here.
And Damian, I'm starting off as I do with every podcast. Why do you do what you do?
Okay. Well, look, I do what I do because I suppose I would have traveled that journey myself. So, for those that don't know what I do, is I do a lot of work in the prison system. I help people rebuild their lives after prison, and generally people that connect with us have already started that journey.
Mm.
What I do is I help them kind of tap into opportunities when they leave and when they return. So we've developed like a friendship network nationally, and the project is called Spear Anua, and Spear Anua is Irish for New Horizons. And the whole concept is that we get a chance to be a better version of ourselves today than we were yesterday. And what we do is we help people on their own pathways to progression
Yeah.
and pathways onwards, and we help people with their goals. They're not our goals, they're their goals, and we're having a lot of success of late. And I suppose if I was why I do what I do is because when I got out and I had to do that on my own, it was a very bumpy journey, and it took a very long time. And when you're that committed to being a different version of yourself, it shouldn't take that long.
Yeah.
So I've set about shortening the journey for other people like me. And yeah, look, it matters to me. It puts fire in my belly, so that's why I do what I do.
Jesus, brilliant, fair play. And like, it was with that, obviously, you say your business came around from experience and passion, and everything else. But when you are working with people now who come to you for help, is it, is it hard not to get really invested with them? Is there a danger of becoming overly invested with them? It was
Yeah,
in their
well,
journey, or how do you deal with that?
yeah, well, look, in fairness, like, I suppose I can relate to a lot of the issues people that I meet face. Do you know what I mean? And there is times where you're coming away from people and you're leaving little bits of yourself after you're with them.
Yeah,
You'd like to be able to do more for them, but like nobody can do more for anybody else. Like that person has to do more for themselves. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So there is instances where you feel for people. But like I suppose I have a great thing to kind of unpack what I do. Like I unpack everything before I go into the door in home,
yeah,
because my family need me to be there for them as well. Like and look, I can't fix the world's problems. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So what I try and do is I have a great way of parking things, because I suppose down throughout the years I've had a lot of difficulties to deal with and navigate and all that kind of stuff. And I suppose I'm a big believer in living in now. So what has happened and what I've met or whatever can't change that right now. And what is going to happen in the future, I have no control over it. So I'm a big believer in trying to stay in the now,
yeah.
and not to let things kind of get me down and that type of stuff. So it's a practice really. So yeah, it is challenging. And look, I come up against other issues as well, but it's kind of hard to rationalize what might have happened
Yeah.
to wind somebody to prison and that type of stuff. And that took an awful lot of work, because I say it openly, like I'd have hang-ups about kind of certain crimes, especially when it's violence against women or any of that kind of stuff, or anything untoward to a child
Yeah.
and all that type of stuff. And I had to do an awful lot of work on myself around that. But where I am with that now is like, people have been punished already. People have served their time already when they come to see me. And who the fuck am I to judge anybody else,
Yeah.
when they've already been judged? So generally, like, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. If you're looking for a bit of support, like I'll sit with you and I'll hear you out, and I'll do what I can to help you. And that's what I do.
And we get into, I suppose, your own history and I suppose all
Mm,
that kind of
yeah.
crack, right?
Mm.
But starting off, what are you seeing as the biggest challenges of people who do come out of prison?
Mm.
Like, do you see people who maybe are in denial about what they've done, or who are angry about what they've done, or are they just simply looking to get on with their lives, but could have lost a number of years or whatever it may be to to I suppose to serving their time. Like what do you see as the
The biggest
commonality?
the biggest challenge is society in general. Like, do you know what I mean? There's this whole lock them up, throw away the key mentality. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
society, like, you see it all the time, things popping up, people in trouble or whatever, like, people for robbing or whatever, like robbing food, and they're ridiculed by the red tops very often. Like, and really, when somebody's out there robbing food, it says more about society that the person has to do that to begin with, anyways. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
But there's a secondary punishment piece where the wider society frown upon people that are coming out of prison and don't give them the opportunities, don't trust them, or all that kind of stuff. Fair enough, might be valid, might be fair, but
yeah,
like, I suppose, what is the point in having a prison then if that's going to happen? Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
like, in my head, prison is where the punishment takes place. The courts send people to prison. When the sentence is ended, the punishment should end. But what the problem is we have in society is the secondary punishment, which is far, far worse. You're going around trying to rebuild your life. You're trying to tap into opportunity. You're trying to go to college. You're trying to volunteer. You're trying to leave the country. Every time you try to do something constructive, barriers come up because of something that you can't change. So that is the biggest problem I see in my work, and we've been working on kind of helping people build portfolios of commitment to change. We look
okay,
at kind of what they've done since the time, and so what work they've done to change their ways, to reflect. How would they behave in a similar situation going forward? How would they react? How would they handle it? What did they learn educationally? Are they fitting well? Are they drug free? All that kind of stuff. All that stuff is has value because they're all efforts to change, to
yeah,
recover, and all that type of stuff. And in the current vetting model, it doesn't capture any of that. It just
okay,
it's a historic binary view of what the person used to do. And as we all know, like, change is constant. People change all the time, and everything changes all the time.
yeah,
So just because somebody did something bad in the past doesn't mean that they're going to do it again. Uh, you know, um, and, like, they should be afforded the opportunity to start over should they need to. Now, look, I suppose I do come across one or two that don't accept. Do you know what I mean? And, like, if they don't accept, there isn't really much we can do. Like,
yeah,
the
yeah,
first thing here is acceptance and ownership, and just, yes, I did do what I did, and yes, I'm trying to make amends. Everybody that we meet are always kind of focused on making amends. Generally,
yeah,
there's one or two that don't see anything wrong in what they did, but they're probably going to wind up back in there. Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
We're working with people that accept, yeah, look, I shouldn't have done what I done. I want to get my family back. I want to get back into my community. I want to contribute. I want to go to the soccer clubs. I want to do this. I want to do that. I just want to get my life back. They're the
mm.
people that we try and support.
And in terms of the people you support, have you a team working with you yourself at the moment, kind of doing that? Because I'm guessing you will be fairly in demand because, I've obviously never been to prison, but if you're coming out and looking again to get back integrated and I suppose as you said, start up your life again, um, if they ring you is great, but we 10 other phone calls just after. So what
Yeah.
kind of team have you around you?
Well, it's not really a team, it's a friendship network. So
Okay.
basically, like, there's no hierarchies or any of that stuff. There's a group of friends. We're all island now and beyond, like even UK and other places as well.
Okay.
And it's very much a kind of a global network now, really. But here in Ireland, like, we do a lot of work both north and south of the border. We have like a network established.
Yeah.
So it's a lived experience network, and we had some leadership programs around that. But basically, everybody in that network is all reaching back to bring another one with them.
Okay.
That's how we do what we do, and we get people dialed into that network as soon as they're out and about, they're dialed into that network. They know that these people are there to help and support and listen. And listen is the biggest tool. Like, listen to them and their plans and kind of point them in the right direction and that type of stuff. And then it's over to the person then to do the work. But
Yeah.
we do a lot of work in the prisons. Like, we have a number of contracts in the prison around personal development, life skills, motivational speaking, and coping with bereavement, which is an interesting one. Liz Gleason, Shapes of Grief. She has her own podcast, but basically she was doing bereavement workshops in the prisons because generally you don't get out for a funeral or that type of thing, and it's
Okay.
a huge problem for people. So they create a space to chat about that stuff, and then a local guy, Ronan Conway, as well. He does the personal development.
Yeah, I know
Um,
Ronan. Yeah. You were
Yeah.
saying that
So
off. You were saying that before we recorded, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So do you want to tell them how you know it?
Yeah, my son, both of us are from Bishopstown. Ronan would have been, we'd been the same year in secondary school, and there would have been a year between us in terms of the sports teams he played with. But we actually, when I was doing my masters, Ronan came into us and did a session with the kind of our masters group in Waterford. I think it's kind of a regular thing he does with Kevin Mack. But really, really good. And obviously we've seen the stuff he would have done with the lads in the prison above in Dublin. I think it was Dublin with Philly McMahon in that episode. And obviously seeing what he does in keeping an eye on him online. So yeah, Ronan is really, really good at what he does. And as I was saying, he's a good hurler as well in his day.
I don't know. Fairness, he's a great guy to know and having a network. And we had an opportunity came up to procure government contracts to provide educational services. I'd known Ronan. He got him to come in to do a few talks with us as well, and so he applied in with us as a partner. And yeah, he's loved across the prison network. Like they love doing the workshops with him. It's a really open space, and it's for real talk, like
Yeah,
real manhood conversations, you know what I mean? And no messing, no blackguard, and just real heartfelt conversations. And he's a good guy, like, and we're very, very grateful to him for coming along with us on this as well. Another partner then is Equal Ireland. So when I got out of prison, like I couldn't get into college or any of that type of stuff because of my background. Like
yeah,
I went to prison for drugs and fighting with guards and all that kind of stuff, and I struggled to get anywhere because of that particular argument I had with the guard. But anyways, I applied to Athlone College when I got out, and they didn't want to know what I wanted to learn. They just wanted to know about what I did, and I told them what I did, and I didn't get the place. So it didn't stop me. I still pursued third level education, and I found Equal Ireland. So Equal Ireland are a not-for-profit charitable trust that have set up. It's like a kind of a consortium of techno institutes of technologies. They're
yeah,
now technical universities now, but they all came together then to provide second chance education to adult learners who missed out on earlier opportunities. And they teach in areas of business, community development, social enterprise, leadership and management, that type of thing. So I applied to them and I got a place with them and I started learning about business and community development. But for this particular contract, they partnered with us as well and they do the life skills program. And ourselves then in Spear Anua, like what we do is we invite people that were in the prison system before, men and women, come back in and share a story of hope and change and let them know that, there is life beyond the walls, if you work
yeah,
towards it and we'll help you get it. And our lead social enterprise that made the application is Amicitia, based in Athenry. So Amicitia, the word means friendship in Latin, and
yeah.
basically that is a social enterprise that has a space, and it opens up that space for local activists to come in and do social innovations. So I brought Spear Anua to them. They adopted it, and when they adopted it, I adopted their governance framework, and I was able to go after funding. Yeah, so it was a great partnership between ourselves and Amicitia. Patrick Mulvihill is the founder of that and a really, really good guy. So they led on the consortium bid to the Irish Prison Service, and all of us then got to work on the back of it. Great collaboration across the country, really.
Yeah.
So that's some of the work we've been doing inside, and like that, then people will be reaching out to us inside and telling us where they're going back to. So what I start to do then is I kind of tee things up for them for when they get out. They
Yeah.
tell me what they want to do, and they go and do it. Most recently, like we had a really, really good success story that got released early so that he could go and do his master's in Cork in criminology. And I absolutely firmly believe that in the not too distant future, he's going to be lecturing in criminology. He's
Okay.
that good, like, you know what I mean? So that's his goal. That's his North Star. And I guarantee you he'll reach it.
And just for yourself there, so you said you spent some time in prison and you
Yeah,
would have been involved in drugs and whatnot. I suppose it was just starting off in terms of early life. Um, for
yeah.
anyone that sees you online, you're doing lecturing, your masters, really, really invested in education. What was your
Mm.
relationship like with education as a young age through primary school and secondary school?
Yeah, well, look, if we go all the way back, right? And so I was an Irish child growing up in the UK. So we
Okay.
went to school in England, and like I got up to the key stage three in England. And I had what I believed was a happy normal home, and that type of
Yeah.
stuff. Straight A's, everything like education was my refuge. I would have experienced a lot of bullying in England for being Irish,
Okay.
and education was my refuge. That was where I excelled. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that was my learning was my coping mechanism around kind of what I was dealing with in school.
Yeah.
So then the family unit broke down and we came back to Ireland as teenagers. And then we were English teenagers in Ireland and then we were fighting for being English.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So,
Right.
so, so that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back with regards to me being
Okay.
bullied. Like, I just wasn't having it. Like, I'd spent all my childhood being bullied for being Irish, and now I was in Ireland being bullied for being English. I just
Yeah.
wasn't having it. And so, and then what also with the family unit breaking down, like myself and my brother were left living alone at 15 and 14. Like, I was the
Wow.
oldest, and we had to keep the show on the road and education then as well, like like the Irish education system is a higher standard than the
Yeah.
UK and education system. So in school I couldn't understand how I started to struggle because
Okay.
I'd been straight A's all the way along, and
Yeah.
then now I was in Irish education and I really struggled, and I couldn't cope with that. I couldn't cope with the issues around the family breakup. I couldn't cope with, like, well, we did cope, we coped, but
You had a lot
I
going on.
couldn't I couldn't deal with what was going on, like, and I remember, like, I ran out of the house crying one evening up to the local drug dealer, and I said, "I don't care what you have, just give it to me." That's how I started taking drugs,
Wow.
and I just wanted an escape, and he gave me what I wanted, and what happened then was I fell in love with drugs. Now I was always working, like at that time, like I'm from a town called Tuam.
Yeah.
Tuam has a strong manufacturing background, like you could walk in and out of jobs that time. I was working in all sorts of industries like bed manufacturing, recycling, welding, carpentry, all that kind of stuff. Like I always was good with my hands, but I had no junior cert and none of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And all that money would go toward kind of keeping us going, but also kind of feeding a roaring habit, like. And then
Yeah.
I started drug dealing as well at a young age, myself and my brother, but that's his own story to tell.
Yeah.
We fell into a bit of a network, and I suppose a local guy who was older than us seen an opportunity with two young fellas living at home alone, and we fell in with him and that type of stuff, and we did what we did for years.
Yeah.
We grew a fairly substantial network in the west of Ireland, and yeah, look, there was no money being made. It was all going up here. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? That type of
Yeah.
thing. It was all just for the lifestyle, really. But anyways, what happened was I Christmas of the millennium, actually, I collapsed. I took an overdose in a house, and when I came round the fellow's house, he was standing over me with a meat cleaver, and he said, "If you say you were here, you are dead."
Jesus. Okay.
So that kind of gave me an incentive to get off the class A's for a little while, and I put on a
Right.
bit of weight and that type of stuff. And the what happened then was I became a dad. I became a dad at 19,
Wow.
and so I had to show up, obviously. And
Yeah.
I had about 3 or 4 years of kind of sobriety and working and being a dad and all that kind of stuff. But what happened then in 2002 was a lot of skilled people came into the country with bags of qualifications, and I was a
Yes.
jack of all trades and a master of none. Like, so I struggled to compete in the labor market.
Yeah.
So that relationship then with the child's mother started to disintegrate and all that kind of stuff, and I was feeling pretty worthless at the time, and like my default was always, you know, drug dealing to kind of protect myself from poverty. So I
Yeah.
said, so I crept back into that lifestyle. Now I did make a decision at the time to kind of re-engage with education. It was Tuam Community Training Centre. I went to them at the age of 23 to get my
Yeah.
junior cert, and I was a dad, like, and all this kind of stuff. And then, but I was eating over the fence. I was doing really well, and like I got all distinctions and all this kind of stuff. But I was also doing the shit I was doing on the
Yeah.
streets. And then I got caught. I got caught with a kilo of cannabis, and And then look, I lost it all. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lost my friends, lost my family, lost the respect of the training center. I let them down. I let down an awful lot of people. Like, and I ended into homelessness and all that kind of stuff. I was kind of hoping somebody would clip my wings or the drugs would kill me at that stage. Do you know what I mean? Because I just didn't want to live.
Yeah.
But I just kept waking up and I kept moving forward. So I had to find something else to do. So what I found was, what I decided to do was, I would use my time in prison to get an education. I would
Yeah.
spend that 3 years learning as much as I could to set myself up for when I got out again. That was my mission. That was my
Yeah.
North Star. So as soon as I went in, I went in and I went straight to the education unit. Got into the gym. I got into the computer workshops, all that kind of stuff. And every single day I was learning, 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 and improving, improving, improving. Had the odd fight here or there or whatever, as you'd have to like in places like that. But generally, like you come into my cell, there was books everywhere. Do you know what I mean? I was in good nick. I was minding myself. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm.
yeah, and I had plans for when I left, like plans like of getting my son back in my life, getting my family back, being somebody,
Yeah.
creating something. Do you know what I mean? They were my plans, like, and what happened then was I was quite naive. Like I thought that when I finished my sentence, the sentence was over. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The punishment was over. As I said, when I got out, I couldn't get a house, couldn't get a job, couldn't volunteer, couldn't get on the housing list. I couldn't get into the college. All these different things, and like the first year, it was a bad year. No, to be fair, we had something to hang on to. Myself and another fellow that were locked up, like we came up with a magazine that we wanted to publish, and we put it onto the trains coming from, say, Dublin, Houston down to Galway. And
Yeah.
basically, it was called Galway 365 magazine.
Yeah.
We walked the streets of Galway selling a magazine that wasn't even created, right?
Right.
We were knocking on doors telling them this is what it's going to look like, and
Yeah.
this is what it's going to be about. And we actually broke even. We got enough money to go to print and print it, and
Brilliant.
then so it went out there. Then the second edition, then we doubled up, and the third edition, then swine flu hit the country, and I got floored in around 2010. I got
Yeah.
floored with swine flu, and anyways, to cut a long story short, like my partner in crime, for want of a better word, was doing a lot of drinking, and he disappeared with a load of advertising revenue, and killed the business. So
Yeah.
between not being able to get a house, not being able to get a job, all them things, and now the business dead in the
Yeah.
water, like the whole lot happened. And then I said, I remember I came home one day. I was going the length and breadth of the train tracks. I had really nice clothes and really nice shoes, and I walked the heels off my shoes looking for work. Like they were taking in water, and then out CVs here, there, and everywhere. And I got back to the flat then one day, and I just opened the door after being out working all day. There was bills on the floor. I went to the fridge, opened the fridge. All it was in was a light. I said, you know what? I'm gonna have to do something again. And I went back into my default mode and I connected again. And then sure, when I connected, I said, how the fuck did this happen again? So
Yeah.
how did I wind up here again after all that work?
Yeah.
How am I here again? And then I went missing. I went missing in Blackguard, and I was trying to. Oh, gee, I got into the height of it now, not with guards or anybody else, but with a lot of dangerous people. And I had gone from being here to up here, and
Right.
I had to leave the country.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and then when I was out of the country, then I remember like it was around the time of the deep freeze. I wound up homeless out in France in a place called Rainbow Court, and I remember saying to myself, "I am my problem.
Okay.
I am my problem." I said to myself, "I've ran as far and as fast as I could, but I'm still sitting with myself. I
Yeah.
can't run away from myself, like." So, anyways, I started to sit with that and all that kind of stuff. I ended up coming back. I went to England actually, and I got a job in the UK literally 2 or 3 days off the boat after being on the run out here in a debt management company of all things. And I up to my eyeballs in debt for drugs. I was ringing people up, telling them about unsecured finance, debt management plans, and all this kind of stuff, and my own finances in platters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyways, that didn't last long, and then I did about 3 months homeless in the UK, and then I was found, and then my father sent me home, and I had to go in then and kind of recuperate from drug-induced psychosis.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that took a few weeks, and then basically then I started as I got out of that, and my brother took me in, my youngest brother, and I got up one day and I said to him, "What time is it?" And he said, "Don't you mean what day is it?" I said, "How do you mean?" He said, "You've been asleep up in that room there for 3 days." I said, "Are you
Wow.
serious?" I didn't realize it was in the yeah, and so I looked at the medication, got it, and I threw it in the bin. And I just decided to start going for walking, long walks, aimless walks, and then come home, get myself showered, stick on some food, try and tidy around and all that kind of stuff. Try to fill
Yeah.
my day that way.
Yeah.
And then I bumped into my partner, Jodie. Like I've been with Jodie now, we'll be 15 years together in January.
Congrats from
I
Reed
met
for that.
yeah, I met her like, and I don't know what she saw in me at the time because everything I owned was in a little bag, and like I
Okay.
had 3 changes of clothes. Like, she seen something in me, anyways, and like when she was coming down to see me and all that kind of stuff, I suppose she would, it, I'd look forward to seeing her. Like, she gave me something to look forward to, and we'd go off and do something nice on the weekends or whatever. And that's not how I used to live. So she showed
Yes.
me how to live. She showed me what just being normal was like. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And she made me want to be a better version of myself. So I met
Incredible.
her. And then I found the course in with Equal Ireland, and I joined the course with Equal Ireland because I was interested in business studies. But what happened as soon as I joined it was I looked at the community development element of it. I knew nothing about that. But when I heard this idea of empowering marginalized people and empowering marginalized communities and making a change in your communities and all that kind of stuff, that really appealed to me because I had spent 10 years being a professional bollocks. I just wanted to So I just wanted to, I wanted to, yeah, I wanted to make amends, and I do that every day. I do everything I do is about kind of repairing the harm. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
because I was a bit of a, I wouldn't say a thug or anything, but I was a renegade. Like I would never mean to anybody. Do you know what I mean? I'd always
Mm.
be like, I was always as I am now. I'd always want the best for everybody that was in our association and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
And can I
And
ask you two questions
yeah,
there? Just come up,
yeah.
just give loads there. First of all, thanks so much for being so open and sharing your story so far.
Mm.
Um, in terms of, we'll say you said there, no, you were never a bad person, whatever else, but it's with getting into that life, and we'll
Mm.
say the drug dealing and everything else. Does it force you to become a different person in terms of maybe people you deal with? Because look, you see stuff all the time in terms of attacks or whatever it may be around drug dealing and all that kind of crack. Did it make you someone that you maybe necessarily you weren't because you had to be out of pure survival?
No, no, no. Look, in fairness, I suppose what I adopted when I started taking drugs was a network of people that were already taking drugs. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And for me, like what I said about doing was reducing prices and giving best deals and all
yeah.
that kind of
Okay.
stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I wanted to be the best at anything that I did, like, you know what I mean?
Yes,
And yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I always had that about me, like, and everybody, like, I looked after everybody that was looking for whatever. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
want, yeah, yeah, and like, look, if there was ever issues around money or any of that stuff, like, I just write it off, like, you know what I mean? Because
Okay.
like, I understand what it's like to have no money. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
don't want to. If you haven't got it, you haven't got it. Just don't ask again. Was kind of always my attitude. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So that was the way I dealt with it. But look, there is people out there that are dangerous and blackguards or whatever, and really, really ruthless. Like, do you know what I mean? But sure, they'll always wind up with no friends. Do you
Yes.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I can go the length and breadth of the country, and there'll be always somebody that I'll know that'll say, "Come on in, do you want a cup of tea or anything or whatever." Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'll
Yeah.
always have that because I give what I get. Reciprocity is a powerful word. Give and take. That's what it means. And I'm a big believer in that. Like, do you know what I mean? So
That's
yeah. So
actually
yeah.
that's gas. I'm in a business group, and our one of the main mottos of the business group is "Givers gain."
Give
That
us game.
yeah, that is basically you're not. If you're in a business group with us, we're not hunting for work off each other. We're trying to build and to promote each other so that if I can get you work down the line, there'll be something that will come my way from you. Um,
100%. Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so
Yeah.
it's a great way to operate. This was with that because everything, this was in the world we are today. A lot of things are transactional. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'll do this, you do this for me, kind of thing. And I think we kind of lose that kind of personal connection and piece then because of it
Mm.
and getting to know people and being able to help people out. And come here,
No.
just going back to your first day or night or week in prison,
Mm.
what's that like? Kind of going in there. Look, you might know anyone or whatever else, but like, again, ultimately, some people are in there because, they might fall in misfortune. Some people are in there because they committed serious crime, and some people are in there because they have to be put in there, because of
Yeah.
what they've done. So, like,
Yeah.
you're meeting a very wide-ranging amount of people there. How do you deal with that? Because I suppose could the mind necessarily make it worse than what it actually is? How did you deal with that when the cell door closed for the first time and whatnot? This episode is brought to you by Sentinel Computers, trusted IT support for Irish businesses for over 20 years. From cybersecurity to cloud solutions, Sentinel Computers keeps your systems secure, compliant, and performing at their best. Visit sentinelcomputers.net to protect what matters most.
Well, I wanted to go to prison because my life was so chaotic and mangled and
Okay.
messed up and fucked up. I see in prison as a refuge because I know
Yes.
that. Sorry about the swearing now. Tell
No,
me if
you're grand. You're
that's not
grand. You're
okay.
fine. You're
They,
grand.
they
No, you're
say they
fine.
say
Swear
that
away.
they say the people that swear anyways. It's always truth when they swear.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so like I like in the courts and everything, like I wanted to go, like, and I remember the reason that I had the argument with the guard, like, was I said it to him on the morning of the court. I said, I just want to go. I said, just stop an me. I said, I just want to go today. And he said, I'll decide when you go. I said, will you? Yeah. And I hit him. I said, now who's going? And I did go, and I got bet like an ass the same day as well, like, and rightly so, like, I was. Look, it sounds like a really, really bad thing to do or whatever. It is a bad thing to do,
It was nearly
but there was
survival, though.
no, there was context around it and that type of thing. Interestingly, like when I got out, like I actually bumped into him, and when I'd come back around from all the madness, I was in having a Christmas pint, and in he walks, and he was looking around, and I spotted him, so I called him over, and I said, "What are you having?" I was just back around after
Yeah.
getting out of prison. He sat down beside me, like, and I just got him a pint, and I said, "Look," I said, "I'm back around now." I said, "I'm finished with everything." I said, you know what I mean? I said, "You're not going to be hearing from me again." And he said, "I'll believe it when I see it." I said, "You can believe what you like." Shook his hand and said, "Happy Christmas and all the best." And about 2 years later, then I was after getting in college. I was after getting my job. I was after getting my partner. We had our own house. Son was back in the life. Everything was
Brilliant.
brilliant. And I was walking into a garage, and he was walking out. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing with yourself?" And I said, "Well," I said, I'm working and I'm studying." He said, "What are you studying? Distribution, is it?" And I said, "No," I said, "Boxing." That was the last time I seen him. But but anyways, like going back to the first weekend, like as I said, like I see in prison as a refuge. I see in prison as an opportunity because I knew
Yeah.
about the training programs, I knew about the educational courses, and I just needed to get away from the community because I had a lot of shame because of all the messing and everything I've
Mm.
lost, and just being I fucked up my whole life. So I seen it as an escape from all of that, like. And
Yes.
then when I was in there, then took me about a week. Like there was a lot of hallucination in bed and all that kind of stuff, sweating. But I still made the point of going to the school, getting my name on the school. Made the point of signing up to the computer workshops. Made the point of going to the gym and starting walking on the treadmill, getting myself moving and that type of stuff. And absolutely, like I say it often. Like prison did save me because like I was sleeping rough, thinking about suicide, all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and prison was a refuge. And like, look, prison is hard now. Like, they have a serious overcrowding issue now. Like, and
Yeah.
like when I'm talking about my time, I was able to tap into all these rehabilitative programs,
Yeah.
and progressive programs. They're still there, but they're harder to access now because the prison is crammed with people.
Okay.
And generally, like, like it's a shocking statistic. Like, I'd say over half the people in prison are in there for less than 12 months, men and women. Like,
Right.
the 12 month sentence serves no purpose. They should be on a work program in the community or something instead. And failing that, not doing that, then the prison
Yes.
sentence kicks in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, good. Yeah,
Because like,
agreed. Yeah.
yeah. Because like going in prison for 3 months, you lose your house, you lose your kids, you lose all that. Then you don't, you're not there long enough to engage in anything meaningful,
Yeah.
and then you're back out onto the street homeless. Do you know what I mean? It
Yes.
causes the short sentences actually cause more harm than they do any good. Like, do you know what I mean? And
Okay.
but yeah, like in my time, like I was like, and some of the best night sleeps I had was in that cell on my own, because once I kicked out my door at 7:30, I lay on the bed doing a bit of reading, studying, whatever. I was safe. I knew I was not moving in the room again until the next morning, and I slept like a baby on those nights. I did
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
because you're kind of insulated. You don't need to do anything for yourself. Just keep yourself clean and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Show up to the work programs, show up to the education programs, and just get on with people as best you can. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And get what you can with your time. I say it to the lads all the time, like, do you know what I mean? This is your time. It mightn't be the best time. It mightn't have been what you planned for your life,
Yeah.
but you still have this time. You can use it badly or you can use it well. The choice is entirely yours. I say it as well, like everybody sails in different storms, but they're in the same ship now, like, and don't make prison any harder on anybody else than it has to be, like, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
do your whack, do your time, get as much as you can, and plan for a better future. You don't need to be coming in and out of this place all the time. That's the type of stuff we're working on. That's the type of stuff we're talking about. I'm grateful to the Irish Prison Service, and they get a lot of flack, like, you know what I mean? I'm grateful to the Irish Prison Service for my time,
Yeah.
because I remember, like, it's interesting actually. I got moved to the open prison and I didn't want to be there. And the reason I didn't want to be there was because I knew I'd be able to do things I shouldn't be doing,
Yeah.
right? And that did kind of start to happen. I remember when I went in there first, like I got transferred up. I didn't want to go like from Castlerea. I was kind of annoyed that it was going. I asked them not to send me, and you have no choice. Like, you have to move when you have to
Yeah.
move, and that's it. So I went into the governor in Loughlin House and I said to him, "Please send me back to Castlerea." And he said, "Why? Will you not give it a go up here?" Like, he said, "It's free. It's open prison." I said, "I just prefer the structure and the routine in there. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's no structure and routine up here." He said, "Give it a go and see how you get on." Like, so I did. I gave it a go. Like, and again, I had a 3 day sleep up there as well. Like, I was asleep for a few days. I don't know whether or not I was, because the time just, you lose real time because it's so open and boring, and
Yeah.
there's stuff going on you don't want to be getting yourself involved in. So what I did was, when Man United bet Chelsea in the 2008 Champions League final, I fucked off for the weekend for myself. I got my girlfriend at the time to pick me up, and I walked out the gate wearing 3 changes of clothes, and left a note in my room to say that I'll be back on Monday. Please don't touch my things, because I knew they'd send me back for taking my own weekend. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I did that anyways, and I came back on the Monday as planned, and the governor then came up to me in the chokey. The chokey is a holding cell,
Yeah.
and he said, "What do you think you're playing at?" I said, "Well, look," I said, "I came to see you." I said, "When I got here, I said, told you I didn't want to be here. I gave it a go, and I said, look, it wasn't working out. I said, I'm lighter than I was. I was doing things I probably shouldn't be doing." And I said, look, I should be in, proper closed prison so that I can focus on what I was doing, like. And he said to me, he said, "You do realize," he said, "you've got a tarnished prison record now." And I said, "Well, with all due respect," I said, "no disrespect to you or your prison." I said, "but that means absolutely nothing to me." He said, "How do you mean?" He said. I said, "I will never see the inside of one of these places again as long as I live. I'm going to get my education. I'm going to get out, and I'm never, ever going to get locked up again." And I stayed true to that word. He started laughing, and I said, "Will you get me a smoke off one of the boys?" And he did. Like, he got me a full pouch of tobacco off one of the boys, and he and, and he and he sent me back then, there and then. Like, and I got back straight back to Castlereagh and straight back into the routine and straight back. And I did. I finished my leaving cert. I did my leaving cert. I got 8 distinctions for my leaving cert.
Well, well done.
I did my Open University then. I did an introduction to business studies with the Open University. And a random time then, they opened my door after, usually if they open your door between lockouts, you're
Mm.
getting searched, like.
Yeah.
Two officers opened my door, like, and they handed me a letter from the Open University. I was the third highest out of 19 students, and I was the only one that was locked up, and I had no access to the internet. But I was the third highest in the class, really high marks.
Well
So
done.
they said, so that's what they said to me. They said, "Well done." Shook my hands, and they said, "Well done" from the governor too. Like, so yeah, so that's what I got out of prison. Like that type of stuff. I got
Yeah.
educated. I got, yeah, yeah, and it did it did help me kind of set myself up for third level education and all that kind of stuff as well. Like, all right, fair enough. It was a shitty year the first year, but today, like, I'm working with the prison service in partnership now and that type of stuff. And
Yeah.
I'd like to think we're sharing a positive message in prison that change is real, change can happen. And yeah, look, we're willing to walk a few yards with you if you're willing to walk a few yards with us. From our point of view, I care deeply about people in prison that I don't even know.
Yeah.
All we ask in return is that they care deeply in what we're trying to achieve as a collective. That's it. That's
That's
it.
incredible. Jeez, that's incredible. And like for yourself, got the education, obviously built
Mm,
your network, now work in prison services.
yeah.
And would you ever worry that if, we'll say, a bad event happened, that you might spiral back into past behaviors, or do you think it's something that you've kind of dealt with and have enough experience and skills to kind of make sure it doesn't happen again?
Look, in fairness, like when I've been out the gap now since 2010.
Brilliant,
I'm fin
unreal.
Yeah, it's 2025 now, 15
Yeah,
years, like,
15 years.
yeah, like I know how to respond to situations as they arise, in
Yes.
an appropriate way. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And like my life today, even though it's not perfect, but I'm in a far happier place today in life than I was back then. Like, do you know what I mean? And nothing, not even God Himself, could make me pick up drugs again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like the problem with drugs is like, on all these shows, the life is glamorized and all that
Yes.
kind of stuff, and the fast cars and fast this and fast that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's glamorized, but you see when the shit hits the fan and everybody's looking for you, and
Yeah.
you're twitching curtains and you're coming down off drugs and you're waking up in the maddest of places, like and wondering why the hell you woke up. That's what they need to be advertising here because that's the life drugs bring. Nobody
Yes.
makes it out of that life alive.
Yeah.
Very rare, very rare. And there's only one way you're going to wind up with it, and that's it.
And
So yeah.
do you know what we'll say when Spear Anua kind of came to be? I understand why it did, but can you
Mm,
think back to the time or the night or the event where you just kind of went, hang on. First of all, from an entrepreneurial mindset, I know you're providing a service because you care about it
mm,
from your own experience, but you've also spotted a gap in the market. Like, do you know what I mean? As
yeah.
in, it's a service that can provide real value to people. So, can you think back to when you're kind of like, yeah, this is a great idea. This could really, really work and help me and people around me, etc.
Mm. Yeah, well, what happened was, so any work I got after prison, it wasn't because of what I knew, it was because of who I knew, right?
Right.
So I got a break in distribution, and I had a fling for distribution. I
Yeah.
was working in Massill's logistics, and just transporting goods across the country, like, and I had a bit of know-how, transferable skills with that regards, and I got a job in a warehouse, and I started climbing the ranks in that, and I was studying my level 6, 7, and 8,
Yeah.
and I became a manager then in that distribution company, and I built my entire team out of people that were before the courts, and I got my honors degree in business, social enterprise, leadership, and management. And what I was doing then, I was working nights, and I was looking around trying to get a break in
Yeah.
the community sector, but I couldn't. 10 years on, same old story. My guard of it and kept getting in the way, and
Yeah.
let me down. So, anyways, what happened was I was encouraged to go to one last open day. It was for a master's in cooperatives and social enterprise. And at that day, I heard about a lady who wrote a paper as part of her studies for the Department of Justice. It was called A New Way Forward. And it
Yeah.
was about integrating violent prisoners back into the workforce. And I said, that's it. I said, I need to talk to her. I need to try and link in. I want to try and do some of that work too, because I understand what that's like. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I reached out to her straight away that day, and we were chatting, and she planted a seed about certificates of employability in my head, and that made perfect sense to me, but I didn't know how to deliver it. So for the masters, I started writing Spear Anua. life after prison for the reformed individual, barriers or opportunities. And
Wow.
halfway through that, then I was approached by Equal Ireland to do a course in recognition of prior learning. So,
Yeah.
recognition of prior learning looks at your experiential learning, your unaccredited learning. And what they do with that is they document it and they assess it against taught outcomes of courses. And
Okay.
if the experience matches the outcomes, you don't need to sit the course. You just get validated and certified, and they can
Brilliant.
upskill quicker. Like, so I've seen people that went into the banking sector after junior cert or leaving cert, worked years in the sector, and then were able to go straight onto a level 8 because they had business acumen and they could demonstrate that.
Well,
So that's the power of recognition of prior learning. But when I seen how the model worked, I said, why aren't we using this for disclosure? Why aren't we using this ongoing assessment model rather than a historic fine review? So that's where the idea came from. So as part of my research, I started interviewing governors, guards, probationers, senators. I had about 13 different people, and
yeah.
I put this whole idea of a certificate of commitment to change to them, and all of them said there's merit in what you're saying here. And rather than a thesis then gather dust on a shelf, I brought it to Social Entrepreneurs Ireland and pitched it for the Ideas Academy, and they backed it. They backed it 100%. And then we applied for funding under Pubble to do a feasibility study to see were there ways in which we could generate traded income without being funding reliant. And that was going after government contracts, procurement, all that kind of stuff. And we did that successfully. We got another bit of funding then with what you call them, Rethink Ireland as well, to
Yeah.
develop an app. And a colleague of mine got to go to New York and pitch at the Bubble conference
Wow.
with the app, with the Lucky Duck. And yeah, so we have like a digital resource alongside the physical resource. Now we're doing a bit of work. It's not out there fully properly yet, but that was built last year. So we're doing work with probation and the prison services around kind of having this companion app as a something that people are issued with as part of their release plan. So there's
Okay.
fair chance jobs from Indeed, educational content, a peer mentoring network, and a directory of services in any town and village in Ireland, wherever they're going back to, will all be in that app.
Wow.
We're trying to integrate a bit of AI into it as well, so that you can talk to the app like we're talking,
Yes.
rather than having to type in and stuff like that if you've got literacy or
Yeah.
numeracy. So we're working on trying to do a bit around that as well. But yeah, so the idea was a college idea that became real. And then like if I was to go back to Tim Griffiths, who was the CEO of Social Entrepreneurs Ireland, he said it to me at the time, before he's moved on. Like what he said to me, he said a lot of people come onto our programs and they have great ideas for change and they have a nice bit of impact in the areas that they're from.
Yeah.
What you're describing here is systems change. And he said that's extremely rare. And he said, if you get that over the line, and if you make them start doing this, he said you should document it. He said because systems change is a really really rare thing. And interestingly, what has happened is that idea has been written into the criminal justice employment strategy as an action and a deliverable. And what's happening now is we're working with the Department of Justice now, make it more formalized, and we're working with business and the community as well around endorsing it. So our certificates will get industry standard recognition, so employers will know it for what it is. And then once we have that right and firmed up and all that kind of stuff, we're going to look at, say, housing. This is what we've done for employment. What do you need us to do for you in housing? What do you need for us to do in volunteering? What do you
Yeah.
need to do for us in insurance reform? This is the work we're doing. So what do we need to do to make sure that people that are trying and that are working on themselves are afforded an opportunity?
Damien, that's incredible. Like
Mm.
what came to me there was like you've had from just what you said to me there was elements of a hard life, but the benefits for yourself, but more importantly, the benefits from others from your experience is tenfold, like even more than tenfold. Like that's mad. That's mad the impact that you can have. I suppose your shared experience and obviously in terms of your own ambition and kind of, as you said, that bit of fire in your belly. And in terms of yourself, what are your own kind of short to medium term goals over the next maybe 5 years? What would you like to do or where would you like to be?
We're working on a product at the minute. It's a disruptive coffee brand. That's as much as I'm going to tell you. But
Okay, right.
but basically that it'll be brewed and roasted in prison and sold on the streets. And every cup of coffee you buy goes towards creating employment for people that can't get it, and they'll fall in under the franchise.
Wow.
We have a clothing brand as well. Like you can buy them online.
Okay.
Shares and
I'll share the link when
unlocked and all
this
that
goes
kind of
out.
stuff. Yeah, so it's called purchasing with purpose. So like you buy a hoodie, like it'll go towards keeping the lights on or whatever. That type of an idea. And
Can I ask you something though? And your thoughts
yeah,
on this? The work you're
yeah,
doing is phenomenal, right?
yeah.
Phenomenal. But could or should we'll say the Irish government be doing more for the people that are in there? Like so, like you look at now, right? A minister gets elected, a minister
Mm,
then gets put into a
moved on.
brief, and they have no experience. But surely someone with yourself, with what we've just talked about over the last nearly hour, surely, I don't know you're working with them in terms of projects, but surely there should be someone like yourself, higher up the chain who's been there and who can reform it. Because, like, ultimately, as you said there, if you can get people out of prison, in terms of we say they're not there for 12 months and there's programs that they go on instead of it, it frees up prison spaces, there's less overcrowding, better, obviously, environment for the prisoners that are there. Like, surely the government could be doing more in a way. Or what do you think?
Yeah, but look, in fairness, it's a challenging area. Like I suppose it's a taboo area as well. Like, you have a large section of society that has absolutely no time for people that break the law, like, and that's fair
Mm.
enough. Do you know what I mean? And you said, so from a government's perspective, they have to manage that, but they also have a duty of care to the people in prison as well. Like, and I say
Mm.
it all the time, like, what the government takes away, they have a duty to restore. So they took away my good name,
Yeah.
but they have a duty to restore that down the road, and they don't do anything on that front. So they're doing the work with us around the certificate of commitment to change is kind of starting them
Yes.
conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like there is like I suppose at a departmental level, there's a lot of good work happening. Like, I was in the Department of Health yesterday looking at other stuff that we're working on that'll be out soon. I've been working with them on prison overcrowding in the Department of Justice. You know, there's a really the building pathways together, criminal justice employment strategy is really, really good group of people.
Yeah.
And like I'd like to give a massive shout out to another Conway person, Lorna Conway.
Okay.
She
Brilliant.
yeah, she is she's heading out. One of her briefs is well, she's a couple of briefs, but building pathways together is one of them. Like, and the department are actively working with us around all these areas. Like, and next week we're all up in the Guinness Enterprise Centre where our lived experience network are meeting. Lorna Conway will be there from the Department of Justice. Fiona Canada will be there from the heads of probation. Dr. Emma Regan, the head of prison, she's over care and rehabilitation in the prison service. She'll be there as well. Like, and
Yeah.
we'll be hearing from the guys that completed the leadership program this year. We had the graduation up in LinkedIn HQ, which was
Brilliant.
quite symbolic because a lot of the people would have struggled to get employment, but if you want employment, LinkedIn is the place to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a
Absolutely.
symbolic in that regard. But like they are like starting to kind of resource or work with us to resource some of our work and all that kind of stuff because they know like things need to change and they're
Yeah.
struggling. They're struggling with that side of the justice space with regards to overcrowding and resourcing agencies and all that kind of stuff. But like it's the people in the department that will drive on projects more so than than a minister that might be in one slot or
Okay.
another slot. The current minister seems quite good. I've met him a few times, and he seems to be. I like his style. Do you know what I mean? I like his
Yeah.
style. He's an interesting. It's interesting to hear him speak and all that stuff. But from my side of the house, and I'm very vocal about this. Like it's about what we can do for each other more so than waiting for any
Yeah.
government or
Yeah.
anything. And waiting for them, the whole point of community development, the reason community development exists is because of shortcomings of public and private sectors. We
Yeah.
have to come together and figure out a way to do it for ourselves. And I suppose that's what we're doing. We're doing what we can for ourselves in spite of not having what we need to look after the people in our areas. Like, and like, I come from like a very like a very disadvantaged area, like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And you know, like, and I link a lot of the behavior, a lot of the behavior that people would frown upon into. I directly link it to the lack of opportunity for them people.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
if they had opportunities, if they had a chance to kind of go on and show people what they're made of, I guarantee you the messing would soon stop. Like
Yeah.
I've one guy in particular now, like, and you know, he would have same thing was brought out of prison. He was not just
Yeah.
sentenced, he was brought out of prison for being disruptive, like, you know.
Jesus.
But he's working now, like, and he's showing up, and he's had his challenges. He's had challenges, but there's good stuff in there, and he's going to work. He's putting on his uniform. He's heading out the
Mm.
door. His children see him doing it, like, and you know, I'm rooting for him 100% because it's a big shift to the life
Yeah.
he lived, like, you know what I mean?
I do. I
And
do.
yeah, yeah, so all of this, it's down to like as community people, as people living in communities and all that kind of stuff, what can we do to help each other level up? What can we do to
Yeah.
empower each other? That's what we need to be focusing on, not waiting for a government announcement for a particular course of action to help people that can't help themselves.
Yes. Okay.
We really should be looking at how we can help each other and help each other step it up a gear.
That's brilliant. And look, we've come to the end there now. I've got five quick fire questions for you.
Okay.
And then we're done and dusted. Uh, Damien, what are you most proud of?
Well, I'm most proud of my sons and my partner. That's what I'm most proud of.
What was the last thing that scared you?
The last thing that scared me was I'd have dreams that I'd be back in prison.
Okay.
Whatever about wanting to go there originally, do you know what I mean? I certainly don't want to go there in the future.
Yeah. And what's the song you sing at home that you don't want anyone to know about? Well, I know about it now.
Deliver Me by Sarah Brightman. Beautiful song. And
Brilliant.
I don't care who hears it.
What's been your favorite concert you've been to?
I actually went to Tony Robbins' concert there recently. We got free tickets to it and didn't know who he was, but I came away kind of inspired and I plan to go again.
Okay,
So it was
brilliant.
mm,
And this was the big question, Oasis or Blur?
Oasis. I grew up in Manchester.
Damien, I just want to say, first of all, thanks a million for giving me your time. I actually could have talked to you for another hour, but I was conscious of I kind of really agreed for
Oh,
the
yeah,
hours. I wanted to keep it to that.
no worries.
Really, really brilliant insights. Absolutely fascinating story. And you know what, I think there's more we can unpack down the lines. I'd love to have you back on again. But where can people find out more about you and I suppose what you do and where can they get more information?
Yes, so if you want to check us out, it's spearanua.org. I'm on LinkedIn. Spear Anua is on LinkedIn. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. Yeah, look, we're all over all the socials, so please do give us a follow. Give us a follow. And if you've got any opportunities and you're looking to offer out a bit of work or anything, give us a shout. I'm pretty sure we'll find somebody to fill that gap for you. And yeah, we're here. And thanks a million for having us on.
No bother at all, my friend. Come here, we'll talk again soon. Thanks, Damien.
Okay, take care.